Hello, everyone. This is episode 7 of the Next Gen Bets podcast.
God bless America, the land that I love. That song's been stuck in my head today. Don't know why. Don't know why.
Bad song, man. Today we're gonna keep it pretty simple, actually. Change the format a little bit, not really, but kind of. We're just gonna go straight through the bets today. We're gonna talk about the games, obviously, but we're just kind of gonna hit the bets early and often. You know what I mean? You want
Yeah,
to start out, or do you want me to
we,
start?
we we gotta do better. Our specialty bets, they're not going 0-4 this week. I like them. Like them this week. Like them
Hmm.
last week, but I like them this week. I'll kick it off. Starting this one, I think is real simple. We did basically the same concept. This is going to end up being our lock of the week. We're taking Cincinnati -6. I think we're buying a half a point. Technically, the line's 5.5. We're taking Cincy -6 on the road at the Tennessee Titans. That's even money. So 1 unit to win 1 unit. This is gonna be the lock of the week. Bengals coming off that win against Dallas on I guess kind of a backdoor cover, we can call it. So since he's 6-1 on the road against the spread, Tennessee's 2-11 against the spread on the season. And if Cincy was 5-2 on the road against the spread, I'd probably actually like it even more to bet this. So that last result they had doesn't really affect me in any sort of way. Um, I think they covered this one pretty easily. Tennessee's just got off of us to Jacksonville last week. So
Yeah, no, Tennessee's trash. I got this at 5.5 because I was on FanDuel. But yeah, no, 6 is good. I'm a fan
yeah, I
of
just
the
did the
6
six
line.
to get the even money.
Yeah, because I think I believe I got mine at like -120 or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So
Which is what
that's what
minus
I
five
did
and a half was
there.
at.
Good line
So
shopping.
minus 6 is good. I have no issues with that one at all. I did in fact take it. Um, so our next bet is going to be in the following game. This is the Washington New Orleans game. Not following games, they're going on at the same time. But we have New Orleans under 16 and a half total points, like
Yes.
team
So
points.
yeah. So New
So
Orleans they scored 14 last week, and New Orleans is bad. Like they're real bad. They scored 14 against the Giants. The Giants were spoon feeding them points. I think that's gonna kind of almost transition to our next bet when we talk Giants and Ravens. But um, New Orleans didn't capitalize. They missed field goals. They were just bad. They didn't hit our rush yards line. They didn't do anything when the Giants turn it over on fourth down because they're trying to come back. They let the Giants stay in the game. And the Saints have not scored more than 16 and a half points. Actually, I think it's technically more than 14 points in any of the 4 games they've played against non-divisional playoff teams. So that's really just excluding the Falcons or the Bucks because we don't know who's going to win the division yet. But they've played teams that are legit and in the playoff race, and they just don't perform against them. Washington is definitely legit, and they're very well in the playoff race. So I like this one a lot too.
yeah, certainly. And it's crazy because you look at like every time I hear about the Saints, I think about how they started the season and
It's
they
so
just
good.
so many points. It's like, oh my God. And then now you see like what pretty much what we expected of them. Um, but yeah, I mean you hit the nail on the head. New Orleans does not put up points.
Yeah, and this one's plus money too. This one's plus 102. So a little under 1 unit to win 1 unit. And like what you said, I think like these lines are basically averages of what the team averages putting up points. And I know they had games with Rattler where they didn't score at all, but with those 2 games with Carr where they, went crazy scoring, I think that balloons the average a little bit. So their average might not be what it really is.
Yeah,
They
definitely.
didn't have those games. And then everybody went crazy on that and they just beat Dallas. And then it turns out Dallas is also garbage. So
Yeah, it was just a beginning of the season and everybody just
yeah.
kind of expected Dallas to be good.
Yeah. And then like I said, our next game, Baltimore and the Giants. This is where we have Connor's favorite, our plow.
Hmm.
It kind of goes off of the fact that the Giants were spoon feeding the Saints points. The Saints didn't do anything. They had like 3 or 4 drives that started in plus territory. The Saints did against the Giants last week. So if you do that same thing to the Ravens, DeVito starting quarterback for the Giants. If you give the Ravens drives that start at the 45 because Dable's dumb and went for it on 4th and 6, or actually he went for a 4th and 8 in that game, and I was just like, why? We had the Giants spread last week, and he's doing stuff like that. It just doesn't help the cause, but they did get there, so can't talk too much trash. But we have Derrick Henry Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews anytime touchdown. That gives us a nice juicy plus 600. So we're doing zero point 0.2 units to win 1.2. So that one would be pretty big if it hits. That's nice odds there.
Massive odds. I'm rooting for that too because I got Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews on my fantasy team, so
Yeah,
that's a
so
double root for me.
Zay Flowers and Lamar, actually, I think and Andrews, they all have similar anytime touchdown size, like the 170 to 190 range for the three of them. And my thought process was leaving out Lamar because if they go up early, they're probably going to try to get some rest for these guys. Like maybe not benching them, but they're not going to be like, yo, Lamar, go run around. This is the game where you sit in the pocket and just dice them up. We saw him do this. I think it was against the Dolphins the first year with Flores and like 2020 or 2019. Like I think it was that far. It seems like yesterday because I remember watching the Dolphins get 50 on their head, and I watched every snap of that game because I'm dumb. But uh, like I could see this game being like that where the Ravens just don't stop scoring. Lamar doesn't have to run. He's just doing his thing because he does throw the ball well occasionally. I think he's very like a swingy performer. They had a bad week last week, so I watch him go out and just, put up 40 on the Giants. We've looked at the over under in the Baltimore line, minus 16. That's just, I think, too steep. But if they are going to get to minus 16, it's going to be because these three guys score. So we'll take the plus 600 instead of the, minus 110 that the minus 16 would be at.
Yeah, exactly. Our next game is the Carolina and Dallas game. This game's kind of crazy. If you look at it from a spread standpoint. This is the first time that the Panthers are favored to win a game since December 18th, 2022. So come game day, that'll be almost exactly 2 years to the day since Carolina was favored to win a game, which is insane to say. We actually have two bets for this game. One of them is a weekly special, and then one of them is a player prop that arguably could have been another weekly special, depending on what you're looking at. So I'll do one of them, and I'll let Kyle handle the other. But the player prop that we're talking about is Xavier Legette to get over 39 and a half receiving yards. He currently averages 42 and a half receiving yards since Bryce Young and continues to trend up. So since Bryce Young came back, and he continues to trend up. Kyle's been pretty much saying every single week that he likes Xavier Legette's yards. He likes the line for it. He wants to bet on it, and every week it would have hit if he bet on it. He just hasn't. And so this week we bet on it. So that's definitely a valid lock in my opinion. I think Xavier Legette's doing. He's starting to like become that receiver that's getting the ball a little bit more. He's getting more balls thrown towards him, getting more receptions, getting more yards. Obviously, that comes with receptions. So he's starting to pave his way into the roster and the being the top receiver on that team.
Yeah, he's making a name for himself. We only did a half unit on this, and it's minus 105, so slightly over a half unit to win half because it's still the Panthers, and I'm just not ready to bet real money on them yet. Like a little bit here and there that we've been doing. Um, I like Leggett a lot, but he has the dropsies. So
Yeah.
like he had two catches for 39 yards last week, and I believe the line last week was also 39. Like his lines don't change, which is why I want to bet it because he's progressively trending up and the lines aren't changing. But bro had 8 targets and only 2 catches. So like if he catches 50% of his targets in this game, we're good. And he like if you look at his past games, the receptions are low, but the targets are high, which gives me a lot of confidence to bet his receiving yards. And I don't know. I think this is the reason I'm finally betting it is because it's another game where he's getting the targets. Should have had the receiving yards props, but I think he ended up a half yard short, depending on what you would have got the line at. Like we got this one at 39 and a half, and he finished at exactly 39 last week, which I would have lost it if we did bet it. But to have 8 targets and your line only be 40 yards for receptions is you should get there if you're getting that many targets. So that's why I like that one. And then this one, I think Connor would technically still be a player prop. This is our weekly touchdown special. And this is another juicy one. Last week we had Ray Davis. He was close. This one's a little bit different. We're taking Chuba Hubbard to be the last touchdown scored in this game. This is at plus 430, so a little over point 0.2 of a unit to win one full unit. So we got two nice Nice high juicy odds for you early in this video. I know some of you guys like those long shot odds at Kyler Young's. Um, but I think my reasoning for this one, what I like is I think Carolina's going to win. I think they'll even cover as their first time favorite in 2 years, like Connor mentioned, because Dallas isn't very good. But for Carolina to win, and I saw even in the game Carolina lost, they'll punch it in with Chuba late in the game to either ice out the game if it's close, or when they're chasing Kansas City, Chuba got an octagon at the end of the game to force overtime. So it's not like they're one of those teams late in the games where they just forget that running the ball is an option. They're a run first team. So and any Chuba to have a touchdown plus 430, I think is pretty good odds. I know it's the last, but I like him to be last more than to be first. So
Definitely, definitely. Tons of value there. And then also in this next one, we've got in the New York Jets game, we have another player prop, and we're featuring Mac Jones. He was our player prop last week. This is the player prop. This is the official player prop of the week, actually.
and it's
Um,
and it's a player prop combo.
it's a player prop combo, which is the more exciting part, which I guess I'll just tell you what it is now. So we have Mac Jones and Aaron Rodgers to combine for under 2.5 passing touchdowns. So total together, we're predicting they get under 3 touchdowns on the game. We have that at minus 109 odds. So we put 1.09 units down to win 1 unit on the player prop of the week. Last week, Mac Jones himself was the player prop of the week, um, and he sold for us. But maybe him and Aaron Rodgers together can team up, and they can be like, "Hey, let's pull one through for the gang." That's what I'm hoping. So we just need Mac Jones and Aaron Rodgers to basically continue. Definitely Aaron Rodgers to just continue what they're doing.
It's more Rodgers is the bigger liability here.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like this one a lot. I think I have got more confidence in this one than the Mac Jones yards, just because these Jacksonville games have been like random, like just so random of low scoring, but guys get their stats. Like when Minnesota played them, it was like 13-9 or something just stupid in that game. But like everybody, like Jefferson and Jordan Addison, they had their yards, and Darnold's numbers ended up decent, but he threw like 4 picks. It was just a weird, stupid game. So this one gets rid of the yards. I wanted to bet Mac Jones under 1 touchdown because he averages only 0.8 in 4 games against the Jets. Like it's like I don't know what the math was to get there, but that's what it said. Um, I think that would be what 3 touchdowns in 5 games, I think, to be 0.8. I don't know. Something with a
yeah,
five
something
and
like
a three
that.
makes 8 somewhere. Um, But yeah, and Aaron Rodgers just went off against the Dolphins. So the typical Jets is you have one good performance, you then follow it up with the worst performance of the season, and then repeat the cycle. So that's kind of what we're going with here. And the Jets are eliminated now, so why would they bother scoring touchdowns? Only reason to score then touchdowns for them would be to mess with our bet here.
Exactly.
And then our next one, we got a nice over, a game total over. We have an under coming up shortly, but we have the Dolphins and the Texans going over 46.5 points. The Dolphins have cleared this line 6 of the 7 games that Tua has played since his concussion. And Houston didn't really have any great numbers for the over, but I just they seem like an over team. Don't they seem like an over team to you, their offense?
Yeah, yeah,
Especially
no,
with
I agree.
one's back. Uh so this one is kind of simple, nice minus 110. So 1.1 units to win one. Nice simple, just straight up over 46.5 points. So that's just 7 touchdowns for the teams combined, as long as nobody screws up an extra point like Jason Sanders did last week. That screwed up our spread, but don't
Yeah.
have to go into that.
Yeah, exactly. Hoping for that. Now moving on, we've got the Denver game. This is one of my well, not one of my favorites, but I do really like this bet. I got Kyle early, good early. I typed it in wrong. He thought I got crazy odds, but I just did not. But
I was gonna
anyways, I
say,
got Denver -3, so I have Denver to cover the spread. Um, I got this at minus 122 on FanDuel, so we're putting 1.22 units on it to win 1 unit because it's minus 122. So it's actually kind of high odds for us. If I'm being honest, we don't normally bet this high. It's not crazy high, but it's just higher than we normally bet. But Anyways, Denver is 10-2 against the spread so far this season, and they are 6-0 against the spread as favorites. So Denver absolutely crushes against the spread. Um, they're really nice to bet on. They're really fun to bet on against the spread. They do really well. Um, and Indianapolis, I do apologize. I don't have the exact numbers, but I do know that they're very run of the mill. They're very unimpressive against the spread, especially this
Yeah.
season. So it's one of
Championship
those
both
things.
quarterbacks.
What'd you say?
Like I think they've been like exactly 500 against the spread with Richardson and Flacco. So it's not
Yeah,
like
yeah. I'm pretty sure it was right around 500.
yeah.
It was like it was like six and
I
something,
think
I
they got like
think.
an odd number of games. They're like 6-7 or 7-6, one of those.
Yeah, something like that. So I picked Denver pretty comfortably there. I like that a lot.
This is a big game in the AFC. It's a big game for my Dolphins. I need Denver to lose, but I also need Indy to lose, and unfortunately, they have to play each other. I know Denver goes from like the under 50%, like a 40 something percent chance to make the playoffs if they lose this game, and they go to like slightly like maybe high 80s or low 90s if they win this game. So this game matters big to them. Um, if both teams could lose somehow, that'd be cool, but they can't. So. I'm kind of hate watching this game because I can't get what I want out of it because they can't both lose. So that's all I have in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care either way. But I don't mind watching Denver cover the spread. The only thing about this spread is it's kind of one of those weird spreads. It's a typical we don't touch spreads except for I touched it because I do that kind of shit. Um, but yeah, you don't normally want to touch -3.5 spread because it's just a weird
Yeah.
number. But I did it anyways.
Yeah, and Bo Nix is 6-0 as a favorite. Uh and we bet on him last week. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? It's the Jameis week. So because they're off the bye, I think. Or I don't even know.
It was two
But
weeks ago, I think.
yeah, so they were 5-0 against the spread. Jane Daniels made it to 5-0 and Caleb made it to 3-0 before they lost. So now Bo set it with 6-0, but I feel like his loss is coming. So
Yeah, but I'm rocking with it.
like bro, if you're 6-1, I'm all for it. If you're 6-0, I'm like, oh, you gotta lose at some point. I'm that guy.
Yeah, I
So
know, I know. I get like that too. I get like that
yeah.
too. It was the 10-2 that sold me. It's 10-2 on
Yeah,
the year. I'm like, okay, they've got two losses on the year. It's okay. Well, not two
but I
losses,
think
but two.
yeah. Yeah. And then next game. So this one I think is big brain. Let's hear what you guys think. So for this Buffalo and Detroit game, the over under is 54.5. And I'm taking the under 54.5, only doing a half unit on this one. Because these two teams could very well go over. So that's 0.55 units to win point 0.5. So our second half unit. Um, but I'm looking at this as it's the big game of the week. This and Pittsburgh, which we'll get to next. But everybody's kind of on the over. The over under started at is I think 51 even or 51 and a half, and it's moved up 3 points and not and we're not even it's Thursday when we're doing this. So still a lot of time for the move. That means people are betting the over, and that makes sense for this game with these offenses. So I'm gonna be the guy that sides with Vegas and take the under. And I like as we're doing this, we see another game that probably had a lot of money in the over, and it's 9-6 in this god awful Thursday night game that I wasted time watching. So very
Exactly.
happy I benched my Niner players in fantasy.
Yeah, I got Cooper Kupp. He's not doing much for me right now. It's playoff time. It's time for him to
Yeah.
shit the bed, I guess. Um, but yeah, I'm a big fan of unders. I like to bet with the books because
Yeah, because like the under starts as hitting. Like whether you lose the under, it's gonna be in line to win for like either 100% of the game or like 90% of the game, which it just makes me feel better about it. Where the over, it's like oh, I'm losing, I'm losing, I'm losing. All right,
betting the
fourth
whole
quarter.
game. Yeah,
Yeah, which is I don't know. I'm impatient. I like to be winning all the time.
like to be up.
Like to be up. Yeah. So that's my thought process there. I think it's one of my better, thought processes. Bet against the public usually does better than betting with the public. All right, and then that Pittsburgh Philly game that I talked about. This was the game I'm excited to watch. I know the Detroit Bills game is kind of like a closer spread. That line's 2.5, so it should be better. This one's 5.5 in favor of Philly, which is kind of surprising to me, and that's why we're taking Pittsburgh plus 5.5. Pittsburgh's 5-2 against the spread away, and Philly's 1-4 against the spread at home. It's like kind of like the Cincinnati game. There's no reason to overcomplicate it. We're just gonna do that. look at the records and make a pick off that. I think that's the best way to do it, you know. And Philly's getting a lot of points. They're bad covering at home. Like they can still win and cover, but they're getting a lot of points here. Like we said, we either want to be under 3 or over a touchdown. So Philly can just win by 3, and we have, 2.5 points of clearance for a Jake Elliott walk-off field goal in this one. Um, I kind of thought it'd be similar to that like 2.5, 3 range for this spread. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, I'm definitely gonna look into that one. Uh, I believe Pickens is out though, so that does help. But the Phillies got their drama with AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts and whatever else is going on over
Yeah,
there.
they got drama.
So I feel like that kind of negates it. And Pickens is good, but he does so much dumb stuff that
Yeah,
like
he's into so much dumb extracurricular
yeah,
shit.
like does
Like,
is his receiving yards worth the 15-yard penalties that come after his receiving yards? So
yeah.
and Pittsburgh's been covering, so we're kind of riding that. I think we got them twice now. I think
Yeah,
we've
we're really consistent at riding with teams that
we
cover.
like the teams that like I don't bet much first couple weeks. I like to see what the trends are, and then 5-2 against the spread on the road and 1-4 at home. I'm jumping on those every time. So
Yeah, I'm following a trend. That's how it is.
just
One
like
thing I did want to add, um, kind of goes against what it kind of goes with what you didn't like about the Denver game, but Pittsburgh is 5-0 against the spread as underdogs so far this season. I did see that. They're 5-2 as the away team, but they're 5-0 as underdogs against the spread
that
this
goes
season.
with
So
it.
that's also
That's
something
good.
to factor.
Yeah, that rocks with it.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. I'm just saying you didn't like the having the zero next
Yeah, I
to it.
see. I
Yeah,
see. Yeah, yeah. 5-2 and 1-4 is better to me and to my brain than 5-0 and 0-4.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like I'd be like,
exactly.
oh, it's got to switch if they're both undefeated. One's undefeated and one's never won, but we don't have that case. Um, all right, so I think we're moving on to Monday here. We don't have anything else on Sunday, but we do have a good amount of action on uh on Monday. So big Monday. We're taking Minnesota -7. This was another one of them easy bets, I'd say. Chicago's 1-4-1 against the spread on the road, and Minnesota's 4-2 against the spread at home. I will say, however, I could see Chicago winning this game outright. It would just make sense. Like Minnesota doesn't necessarily need to win this game. Like they should, obviously. And they need it for, trying to catch Detroit and stand with Green Bay. But they're like comfortable in their, most likely wild card playoff spot. And this would just be a random Chicago thing to do. Like kind of like how they played with Detroit on Thanksgiving, which is their one cover as a road team. So and we did bet that one too. So
Yeah, but this is another, like I said, we follow trends. We had Minnesota last week, I believe. I think it was
yep,
minus
and they
seven,
handled
or it was
they
minus
handled
seven and a half,
it.
and they covered so comfortably, it's not even funny.
Yep.
So we're riding
It
with
was
them again this week, and I'm comfortable with riding with them against Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. It does not hurt my feelings at all. It doesn't make me feel uncomfortable either.
Yeah, and then our last bet is also including this Minnesota game. We got a nice little parlay. We're taking Atlanta money line and Minnesota money line. Atlanta money line was -200 and Minnesota money line is -320. Not a big fan of, a parlay like this, but keeping it to only two teams, only two favorites makes me happy. And it comes out to -104. So nice getting close to even money to finish out the week just by needing these two teams to win a football game they should win. Atlanta is on the road, which did concern me a little bit, but Vegas is real bad. Like
Yeah,
they're
it's against Vegas. It's not.
they're playing Desmond Ritter last week, so I'm comfortable with Atlanta beating their former quarterback. I think Kirk Cousins will be fine. Just get the ball to Drake London and let Bijan run, and just don't throw a pick. So,
Yeah, just be
like I
a little
said,
bit gentle with Bijan. I'm playing against him
yeah,
this week.
you
So
are.
I do need him to chill, or I need lube. I need one of those two things because I'm not taking Bijan straight up. So we need to chill.
He can
Um,
he can get the yards and win, and just no touchdowns. That'll be good
yeah,
enough.
just come out of the end zone. Yeah, let Kirk Cousins do his thing.
Yeah,
Um,
no catches either. No PPR.
yeah, throw it to Drake. That's what we want
Yeah,
to do.
I
So,
have Drake. So
yeah, I have him in one of mine. We're good.
yeah.
One thing we didn't talk about before we get too far ahead that I did want to talk about Sunday, was just I'm personally keeping my eyes open for Josh Jacobs rushing props. Um, I think Green Bay is well, Josh Jacobs last week had an insane week. And I would kind of expect the same out of him this week. And then Seattle also doesn't have the best running defense in the world. So I would expect Josh Jacobs to do something productive. Um, if he does something productive, then, or well, assuming he does something productive, then I expect his rushing yard props to hit. So we'll see what happens there.
Start playing him in fantasy as well, I must say.
Hmm.
So that was a trend I used to consider. Was I bet the guys my opponent had in fantasy, so either I win my fantasy matchup or I like hit a parlay. That was back when I didn't wasn't good at betting, but it was a thing I used to do. But then back to that Monday game real quick. Like I said, is Atlanta's minus 200 and Minnesota's minus 320. It would be such a Bears thing to ruin that parlay. It really would.
Yeah,
It
it would
just
ruin
it just
everything.
yeah, because we got two on that, but I don't think that's gonna happen. But if anybody's gonna do it, it's gonna be the Bears, who we both don't enjoy. Um, but yeah, we got another full slate of bets. Got our four specials. We're not going 0-4 this week. I'm very confident in that. That was a fluke, and even us being down was a fluke. We've been up in our previous weeks that we've made videos for you guys. We were up on Thanksgiving Day, on the following Sunday after that, up week 12, up week 13, and just week 14 gave us some issue, but we're looking to get back in the positive column, I guess you can say, for this week 15.
Definitely, we got some money to make this weekend, and it's gonna happen. I'm feeling it. We're definitely hitting at least one of these weekly specials. I'm not doing that own four thing again. It's not happening.
And this was I think this is, I mean, week last week ended up being good, as does like pretty much every week in the NFL as far as entertainment goes. But the matchups in this week get me much more excited. Like we have these two great 4 o'clock games in Denver, or not Denver, or I mean that Denver game is pretty good too. But Buffalo and Detroit, and then Philly and Pittsburgh, and like no one's really talking about that Denver Indy game, which is big for AFC playoffs. And then looking at the 1 o'clock window, I think Kansas City is in an elite trap game against Cleveland, who like occasionally will play really good football and then sometimes doesn't. And Kansas City likes to play everybody close. So that'll probably be fun to watch. And I think Miami and Houston's a really good game. I know I'm a Dolphins fan, so of course I'm going to say that. But that's, two of the better offenses as of late going against each other. And with Nico Collins being back, there are more weapons in that game because Tyreek and Waddle have been hot of late. And this Dallas Carolina game, I think, will be exciting too. We get to see Carolina as a favorite. That hasn't happened in 2 years. That's kind of exciting if you're a betting nerd. So we get
Definitely.
more excitement for these matchups than last week's matchups.
Yeah, last week's matchups were terrible. We said it last week, or at least I said it. I know I said it last week that the matchups were just not good to bet on. They're not like you look at and you're like, oh, I want to bet on this game. They were just not good. So this week's way better. Some exciting stuff happening. I'm going to be paying attention to that Carolina game. It's going to be fun to talk about that. If they cover next week, that'll be fun to talk about for a little bit, especially
Yeah,
since
it was
two
good.
bets in that game. So
Yeah. Yeah, like last week, I feel like, I mean, we had to put more time into find the bets because we had to reach to find numbers and stats that we'd like to be able to support our bet for you guys. So this week it's a lot more straight cut, which I think is always better. It is simpler that way, but it's simpler for a reason because that's the trend and you're betting with the trend versus trying to find stuff like we were last week. So more confidence this week for you
yeah,
guys.
definitely, definitely.
But I think that's all we got today, right, Connor?
Yeah, that just about wraps it up. It's short and sweet for you guys.
We
Uh,
grinded out 3 episodes for you guys this week.
yeah, it was a grind. This week was definitely a grind, gonna be honest.
Yeah.
But we made it. We got it done. Um, but yeah, I mean, you got any closing thoughts, Kyle, or did you just say them all?
I think I got everything out that I want to say.
Perfect. All right. Well then, let's root for a good weekend here. Hopefully our weekly specials go pretty well, and we will catch you guys on the other side of the weekend, early next week on Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever it is for you guys. So until then, you guys have a good one.